Do you always stare that hard, or is it just my skirt? Vanessa Okonkwo didn't like distractions. Her heels echoed across the tiled floor of J Corp like a warning bell. Click, 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 sharp, rhythmic, unforgiving. Her lips were glossy red. Her blouse fitted and crisp. And her eyes, cold enough to freeze any man stupid enough to try his luck. But that morning she walked into her office and froze. There he was, leaning casually by her desk like he belonged. Broad shoulders under a navy shirt, sleeves rolled up, skin like warm honey, a tattoo crawling up his forearm. And that smirk, cocky like he already knew her weaknesses. "You're late," she snapped. "I'm Damelaire, your new assistant," he said, voice smooth, calm. "And only by 5 minutes." Vanessa's stare was lethal, but inside, her heart stuttered. She hated how his scent drifted into her space. Clean, musky, male. "I don't like excuses," she said, brushing past him. But when his hand brushed hers, deliberately, something hot surged through her. That night, she found herself replaying the moment. Over and over. His eyes. His voice. The way he looked at her like he already knew she'd break. Vanessa always stayed in control. But Damelaire looked like a man who came to ruin that. Vanessa never mixed work with pleasure. She especially didn't fantasize about assistants, not even ones with dimples that could dissolve dignity. But there he was again, Damelaire, pouring coffee at the breakroom counter, sleeves tight around his biceps, trousers hugging thighs that looked like they could pin a woman down for days. She stepped in, her voice crisp. "Where's the report I asked for?" He turned, eyes dragging slowly over her curves before locking on her lips. "In your inbox, ma'am. I always deliver." Vanessa's breath hitched. "You're getting comfortable too fast." He smiled. "Should I slow down?" She hated how her body reacted. Nipples tightening beneath her silk blouse, heat pooling between her thighs. She turned to leave, but his voice followed. "By the way, you dropped this." He held out her gold pen. She reached for it, but he didn't let go. Their fingers touched. Heat surged. For a second too long they stared, dangerously close. The space between them crackled, charged. "Careful, Miss Okonkwo," he murmured, voice low. "You might start wanting things you can't command." She snatched the pen, retreating. But as she walked away, her steps lost their rhythm. Her breath, shaky. That night, her fingers hovered over her phone. She opened his file, stared at his photo. She should have deleted it, should have shut the thoughts out. Instead, she zoomed in and whispered, "Damn it." Vanessa wasn't losing control. She was giving it away, slowly, willingly, to the man under her desk. The office emptied by 7 p.m., lights dimmed to low, the usual buzz replaced by the hum of air conditioning and the clicking of Vanessa's keyboard. She stayed behind often, not because she had to but because it was easier to stay busy than to feel. Especially now, with Damelaire around, stirring things inside her that shouldn't be stirred at all. He should have left hours ago. But no. There he was, outside her glass door, pretending to check files, eyes catching hers through the transparent frame. Vanessa tried to ignore him. Pride. But her body betrayed her. Her mouth was dry. Her thighs pressed tighter each time he looked at her like she was the only thing worth working overtime for. When she stepped out to refill her water bottle, they crossed paths near the printer. He didn't move. Neither did she. "I thought I told you to leave hours ago," she said, her voice soft but sharp. "I thought I'd wait," he replied, taking a step closer. "In case you needed help." The heat between them surged. No words. Just tension thick enough to choke on. She brushed past him, but he moved with her, slow, deliberate, until she backed into the wall beside the server room door. "Damelaire," she warned. "Yes." His voice was velvet. His fingers lifted, not touching, just hovering near her waist. Her body leaned in before her brain caught up. "This is inappropriate," she whispered, breath shallow. "But wanted," he replied. He didn't kiss her. Not yet. Instead, he leaned in, lips a breath away from her neck. His voice barely a whisper. Tell me to stop. Her hands clenched at her sides, nails digging into her palm. But she didn't speak. She didn't stop him. She wanted it. She ached for it. His lips brushed her jaw, featherlight. Then he pulled away, stepping back like nothing had happened. "Good night, Miss Okonkwo," he said, voice smug. Vanessa stood frozen, heart pounding, legs weak. She had nearly fallen. And she was beginning to want the fall. Monday came with meetings, charts, and shallow greetings. But Vanessa's mind was elsewhere. Every time Damelaire passed behind her chair or whispered across her ear during briefings, her skin burned like it remembered his breath, his nearness, the danger. He was good at pretending nothing happened. She hated him for that. Hated how he typed calmly at his desk, sleeves rolled, veins teasing her eyes, pretending they weren't drowning in tension. Pretending he hadn't almost kissed her beside the server room. By noon the pressure cracked. She called him in alone. "Lock the door," she said, voice low. He obeyed without a word. Turned, locked, and faced her, eyes darker than before. "You're testing me," she said, walking slowly toward him. "Flirting. Teasing. Playing games." "I only respond, Miss Okonkwo," he said, meeting her eyes. "You're the one who starts the fire." Her lips twitched. "And if I told you to kneel?" His jaw clenched. Then he dropped to his knees. Her breath caught. Her thighs trembled. He looked up at her like she was the storm and the calm. His voice low and hungry. "Tell me what you want." Her fingers twitched, her body already betraying her restraint. But footsteps echoed down the hall. A voice called her name. She jolted. "Get up," she hissed. He obeyed. By the time the door opened, Damelaire was at the file cabinet, calm, collected. Vanessa was behind her desk, heart racing. But as their visitor left, Damelaire slipped her a folded note. Later alone she opened it. One sentence. "You can give orders, Vanessa. Or you can beg." Her thighs pressed tight again. She wasn't just losing control anymore. She was chasing it. Rain pounded the windows that evening. Most of the staff had gone, save for Vanessa, locked in her office with her thoughts and that note, the one Damelaire had written. She read it again. "You can give orders, Vanessa. Or you can beg." She should have fired him. Should have crushed this temptation before it bloomed. Instead, she buzzed him in. He walked in slowly, locking the door behind him like he'd done it 100 times. This time there were no words. No flirting. Just heat. Raw and rising. He stood. He moved. They collided, lips crashing, hands groping, bodies desperate. Vanessa wasn't in control. She didn't want to be. Her back hit the desk. Papers scattered. His hands were under her skirt. Strong, impatient. She gasped as his mouth traced the curve of her neck. Her legs wrapped around his waist. "You waited long enough," he growled against her skin. She moaned. He lifted her onto the desk, hands parting her thighs, mouth tasting skin that had never known such worship. Her nails clawed at his shirt. Buttons flew. Her blouse tore. The air was thick with moans, gasps, the slap of flesh against wood. Nothing existed outside that room. Just the heat, the hunger, the frantic rhythm of two people too far gone to stop. And when she came, shaking, biting her lip to stay silent, he whispered, "Say my name." She did. Over and over. Afterward, she lay on her desk, blouse open, chest rising fast. He stood between her legs, lips swollen, eyes dark. "You'll regret this," she breathed. He smiled. "Then let's do it again. So it's worth it." Anessa arrived late the next morning. Her blouse was buttoned too high. Her lipstick too red. She avoided stares, but the whispers still found her. Two interns giggled near the printer. The HR officer shot her a curious look. And Damelaire. He sat at his desk like nothing had happened, like he hadn't bent her over her mahogany table the night before and made her whisper his name like a prayer she didn't believe in. When their eyes met, hers were guarded. His unreadable. She didn't like that. She buzzed him in again. This time the door clicked shut and he didn't speak. He simply leaned against it, arms folded, smirk dancing at the corners of his lips. "You're enjoying this," she said. "I enjoy a lot of things," he replied. "Especially the sound you make when you're—" "Stop," she snapped, cheeks flushing. But she wasn't angry. She was wet. He moved closer, slow like smoke. "You're scared someone will find out," he said. "They're already guessing." "And if they knew," he asked, voice low, "would you stop?" Her silence said everything. He leaned in, lips brushing her ear. "Then maybe we should give them something worth whispering about." She nearly pulled him in again, nearly let herself fall. But a knock interrupted them. "Ma, Mr. Tund wants to see you." Damelaire stepped back, expression calm. But as he exited, he whispered, "Tonight, my place." No desk this time. She watched him leave, pulse racing. She'd never been to a junior staff's home before. Never crossed this many lines. But with Damelaire, she was learning to crave the danger. And danger was starting to crave her back. Vanessa had told herself she wouldn't go. She'd dressed in simple jeans and a black top, tied her hair into a bun, and stared at her car keys for 15 minutes straight. Going to Damelaire's apartment wasn't just reckless. It was stupid. A career-ending move wrapped in lace and lust. And yet, she still found herself knocking on his door by 9:07 p.m. He opened it shirtless. Low sweatpants, bare chest, that same sinful smirk. She didn't say a word. Neither did he. He pulled her in by the waist and kicked the door shut behind them. The tension didn't wait. His hands were on her immediately, mouth claiming hers like she was oxygen. She pulled off her top without thinking, backed into his living room wall, legs wrapped around his waist like they belonged there. She wasn't drunk, but she felt high. He tasted like trouble and chocolate whiskey, and when he picked her up and carried her into the bedroom, she whispered, "This is a bad idea." "Then why are you soaking through your jeans?" he growled, tossing her onto the bed. His sheets smelled like cedarwood and lust. His tongue followed the curve of her thigh. His hands, too rough to be gentle, yet too skilled to resist. And when she climaxed, loud, shameless, panting his name, she forgot who she was. Forgot power, titles, rules. Forgot that outside his window across the courtyard someone was watching. Not just watching, recording. From behind a half-closed curtain, a man lowered his phone and zoomed in. The light from Damelaire's bedroom cast their moving shadows against the sheer drapes, bodies tangled in a rhythm no one could mistake. The watcher smiled. He knew Vanessa. He also knew exactly what to do with a video like that. And back in bed, chest rising against Damelaire's, Vanessa whispered, "I feel like I'm falling." Damelaire kissed her shoulder and replied, "Then don't look down." But the fall was coming. And someone was already digging her landing spot. The video dropped at 7:43 a.m. No watermark, no caption. Just a 36-second clip of Vanessa, half naked, body arched against Damelaire's in a bed lit by city lights. Her moans muffled but unmistakable. Her face was barely visible, but his, clear as glass. The camera had caught the curve of his jaw, the tattoo on his forearm, the very sheets he'd laid her on. By 8:01 a.m., it had circled half the company. By 8:15, someone from HR forwarded it. Urgent. By 8:27, Vanessa saw it. She was in the elevator when her phone pinged. The subject line read, "Is this you?" She opened the message. Her stomach dropped. She watched herself come undone in the arms of the one man she swore she'd never touch again. The desk had been one thing. His apartment another. But this was destruction. She didn't wait to get to her office. She slammed the emergency button and turned to Damelaire, who stood behind her in silence. "You leaked this," she hissed, voice trembling. His face twisted. "Are you insane?" "Then who?" "I don't know," he said, jaw tight. "But it wasn't me." The elevator jerked, resumed. When the doors opened, the floor was quiet. Too quiet. People averted their eyes. Others smirked. Some simply stared, the way vultures study something freshly wounded. Inside her office, chaos brewed. 3 missed calls from HR. 1 from the board. And a calendar invite. Emergency disciplinary meeting. 12 p.m. Damelaire entered minutes later, closing the door behind him. "We need to be smart about this," he said. She laughed. Bitter, wild. Smart. You think smart works when a woman in power is caught with her junior staff panting between her legs? "I'll take the fall," he said quietly. "I'll say I seduced you. That you resisted. And lose your career. It's already gone," he shrugged. "But I won't let them drag you." Her throat tightened. Tears burned, but she blinked them back. "Why did we do this?" she asked. "Why did we keep doing this?" Damelaire stepped closer, cupped her cheek. "Because when you touched me, it felt like the world stopped judging." She didn't pull away. But the intercom buzzed. "Miss Okonkwo. They're waiting." The room turned cold. She stood, straightened her dress, fixed her lipstick. "I go alone," she said. Damelaire nodded. As she walked out, heels clicking, shoulders straight, heart shattered, she realized something. She had climbed to the top on rules and ruthlessness. But now she was falling, from grace, from power, for love. And the man under her desk. He might have been the only thing real.